Father's love. The years passed and Morgan was old and strong enough to train with his father. Obata had spent the past 5 years parading his son around Nadia, enjoying glory. The shy child hid behind his father's leg at public events, popping out every so often if there were sweets or a cookout. He and his mother were once again inseparable as he picked up daily homeschooling, history, arithmetic, and languages. Nadia had gone from a forgotten echo of history into a monolith, attracting envy and greed. What the world had turned its back on, Obata turned into gold. He did not sway people with promises of planned opulence. He was a man who truly loved his people, and his family first and foremost. He had a large family spreading out across Nadia, the forest and plain areas of Ekru, leading into Maya and Naka. Obata's annual family reunions attracted Samaras, Cass, Julius's, Bisharas, Harps, Ganeshas, Chorjuns, and many lesser families. Obata had always carried his mother's maiden name due to the rash political differences between him and his father. His father, Lord Commissioner Maurice Gregor, had called Nadia a pet project for his son. Obata believed Nadia could lead the world into a brand new age. He was cutting all ties to his birthright and moving to Nadia as a homeless man with nothing. He soon became its king, connecting to Nadia's roots and spending nearly 3 decades growing an orchard and revitalizing people from the inside out. His wife taught history, anthropology, and film to the elderly and young to tell their stories. Obata trained young adults and teens in logic, philosophy, finances, and the alchemical arts. They made a healthy living together, teaching across Gaia, gaining global notoriety and animosity. People refused to accept that Obata could be right because he lived and had a swagger and strength of speech that commanded love and respect. He was beloved by his people who would fight wars for Obata, which is what the world feared. Obata began to mature as a leader. He neared his 50th birthday, watching his son turning 7 before his eyes. His son brought him such joy, talented beyond belief and prodigious. He was absorbing everything around him like a sponge, attending every class and speech. People paid hundreds and thousands to attend. He was too young to have an appreciation for his knowledge, though he couldn't ask for a better guide into his eventual kinghood. At the ready, Leonticus. Morgan. Oh, nice. Obata struck his signature round shield like a gong with his practiced sword. He had a cheeky smile, and his beard had salt and pepper he learned to accept. His skin began to thin against his rippled body, still built for battle. His skin began to thin against his rippled body, still built for battle. He stood 5'10" with deep skin as if born from the soil. His smile soon faded as he watched his son slowly drift to sleep. He gave his sword another great gong, bringing the boy to consciousness. You must raise your left shield to guard. Your blade extends horizontally to maintain a distance. Watch and do. Obata instructs, holding his shield, his arm coiled like a python to bash with it, his sword before him like an extension of his arm reaching for his opponent. He bobbed and moved, spinning on his feet, pivoting, dashing to the side, and performing a complete circle around. I don't want to, Papa. It's too early. I want to go back to bed. The 7-year-old pouts, hungry and tired. It was nearly 5 in the morning. Morgan's small frame could barely hold the practice sword and wooden shield. He yawned, scratching his backside with his sword. Leonticus, Obata's bellowing roar woke his son up to pay attention. Sir, yes, sir, he salutes. Now, out the ready. Obata's smile disappears as he sets up his guard. Oh, man. Morgan sighs, lifting the shield and sword. Now, like the water, Leonticus. Swing, block, swing, swing, block, swing. Leonticus, raise your shield before I bop you. Obata swats his son's shield, thrusting forward, pressing against his chest, feeling the young man's heart race. Keep your shield up, Leonticus. That is why you have it. But it's so heavy, Morgan whines, slipping the 50-pound shield off his arm and rubbing his shoulder. Guard, Obata roared, pursuing his now defenseless son. Dad, Dad! He tried to cry, but it only made the pursuit quicker. The boy lifts his sword, but isn't expecting the enchanted wooden shield to proceed with the practice sword. He leaps aside, circling his father. Obata hops 180 degrees about face, shouting, "Boo!" Morgan waves his arms, nearly losing his balance, standing on a single foot. "Keep your feet on the ground and head in the clouds, Leonticus." Obata chuckled, going for the finishing blow. Morgan spotted a second practice sword a few steps behind his father. His father perceived his intention, sliding to block the practice sword. He was impressed as his half-awake son leaped behind him, utilizing the king's eye to spot a fourth sword behind his back. He somersaulted backward, picking up the sword and facing off with his father. "You've unlocked your eyes so young, my son. Let me show you the true power of an Ekru king." Obata teased, awakening his own eyes to a deep purple color. "Whoa, Dad," Morgan marveled. "These are called God's eyes. When you are older and fully devote yourself to her kill, as the true Ekru prince, you will be gifted these eyes by God to see as he sees when they're active. However, there is a level beyond this one." Obata chuckles, turning them off. "I think that might be a bit too much practice. However, you should pose some pretty good competition with those ruby eyes." Morgan smirked, lifting his blades in a similar position, holding his left blade vertically to defend, and the right pulled like a scorpion ready to strike. "Swing," Obata commands, lifting his shield to meet the deflecting sword. "Block," Morgan said. He steps forward, forcing his father to bring up his blade. "You can't possibly be considering overpowering me. Be serious, Leonticus." "Leonticus?" Obata went from shock to awe to pride in a few seconds, murmuring, "You had a plan. My son had a plan." "Swing!" Morgan steps up the shield, jumping over its rim to pole vault to its flank, landing a strike behind his father's head as he lands on the ground, rolling to dismount. His father held the shield strong, swatting away the strike with ferocious speed without his eyes. His blade follows his son's trajectory in an arch. Morgan looked up fearful and tried to shift out of the way. Obata spun on his heels, dropping the blade upon the new position. Morgan meets the blade with both swords, being pushed back with no answer, for the shield to come forward in forceful push, laying the boy out flat. Morgan laid on his back, catching his breath. The boy curled himself up, grabbing his knees, wanting to cry. Frustrated with his failure, sitting in a ball as tears filled his eyes. Obata began clapping vigorously, walking up to his son, kneeling before him and kissing his forehead. Morgan stopped crying, hugging his father, who was still impressed by his son's resourcefulness under pressure. "You are incredible, my little panther, small and ferocious. Your combat skills far exceed many of my men. One day you will be the greatest warrior on Gaia. You will be the power and might of Ekru. You will be its justice. Our people will finally be safe." Obata lifts his son, carrying him out of the training room. "Father?" Morgan asked. "Of course, my son. You will surpass us all with time. You have the power of old Ekru in your soul. All you must do, my son, is keep faith." "Thank you, Father." "I love you, son. All I do to see you live in a better world. I hope you do the same for your son. Then you can carry me to my bed to tuck me in," Obata says as he lays his son down, taking out a small piece of double chocolate cake wrapped in fine satin cloth. "Don't tell your mother you were training. She'll flip. Keep a hold on this cake, my son." The mansion began to shake and rumble. Obata was frantically running out of breath after seeing the surging power level a few miles away. He watched his son fall fast asleep in the manor's west wing. He closed his eyes, praying on his son's bed. "Smear men think and pray on their feet." Those were the last words Obata could utter before suddenly pushing his son through a portal, before the manor collapsed around them. He opened one purple eye to see where the energy was coming from in immense pain as he struggled to maintain the shield over himself made of lunar energy. The bitter rage against his enemy. He felt the energy once before. It was unnatural, but man-made. He had assassinated his own home and then tried to kill his son. A deep rage burned into Abada Samara, holding on to his life as he sent his son far from the manor and hopefully to safety. The unbearable pain even through his shield, gritting his teeth as his nervous system felt the shock